excited to be here. Many of you may have heard me before, but one of the great privileges I have in this life is to talk to young people. I've had many opportunities to be on the media and to deal with the Wolf Blitzers in the world and to debate the liberals, and I've enjoyed that thoroughly, but nothing better than coming home to young people, whether it be left or right, on college campuses, which I think is truly the future of our country, to be able to reach them and touch them and to be here amongst you all who share many of my views. And I must say that I talk to people of my generation, and they're extremely concerned about this country. They're worried that we're on our last legs, that there is no way to expect it to be turned around, at least certainly not in their lifetime. But I tell them how I on college campuses, and I meet and talk to people such as you and meet people like Brendan who are out there fighting the battle. They have not given up, and that's the key. That's the key. Remember, my brother is the half-full member of the family, and I'm the half-full, and he's the half-empty member of the family. He's a great American, my brother Pat, and I have many brothers, 7 brothers and a sister, and they're all great. But in this particular incident, Pat wrote an article, and it was worried. He had great concern. He figured, this is it. I don't see how things can turn around after this horrible decision of the president or whatever it was. And I called him up and I said, Pat, I understand why you're concerned. I understand why you're worried. But I got to tell you something. You can't call the game. You can't call it. It's not over until we get off the field. And I, for one, am not getting off the field. We've been on the field a long time. We get knocked down and dirtied and kicked, and we feel as if it's time to just give it up. But we get up. We get up again, and we fight because they cannot beat us until we don't get up. And that is never going to happen. And that's what this conservative movement is about. We stay in the battle, even how tough it might be. He, of course, agreed with me, and he had to just be called, but he was in one of those low moments, and he has fought his whole life. What I want to talk to you all today about is something that is very dear to my heart. I know that you all have the passion. I know it's there. I know that the ability to turn this country around is with you all. I know it. I've met too many of you not to be extremely optimistic. But you all have to know how it's done. You have to kind of figure it out. And I think many of you have come to these conferences, specifically today, to kind of get a little more sense of what it is to be a leader, to talk to other leaders in this country, in this movement. And what I'm here to tell you is how to do it. How you can know that you'll be ready when it's your turn to make a difference, whether it be in your family or in your community or with your friends and colleagues or with the country. You'll be ready, and that's what I'm here to talk about. You know, you look around the country, and as I said, there's many of us who are discouraged. How quickly it's tumbled towards a place where we never dreamed. You know, I just heard on this morning on coming in, I guess they've arrested some woman who allowed her 7-year-old to walk a half mile alone to the swimming pool. They've arrested her. And a caller called in and said, that's interesting, because we have mothers and parents who are putting kids on trains 1,000 miles to illegally come into this country, and our government is talking about how we should reunite them with their parents. Nothing to do, but we're going to arrest this lady here because she sent her kid. And the policeman said, well, there's abusers, child abusers in the neighborhood, you know, in this plant was adamant. Well, why don't the police do their job and arrest those guys and not worry about the mother who's sending her child down the street a half a mile? It is amazing where we've come to. It's all turned on its head. We have Homeland Security, all right? Homeland Security. That's the name of the department, releasing thousands of criminal aliens into our communities, including child abusers, all right? They're releasing rapists, murderers, because they say, well, we can't really hold them any longer. Well, come on, guys. Surely Homeland Security and all the power of this U.S. government can figure out a way from keeping criminals from being released into our communities. If you can't do that, give it up, okay, and let someone else take charge. The American people should expect no less than Homeland Security doing everything in its power to keep the homeland secure and safe for our families and our children. That is their job. And so now the immigration issue has come to a full swing. We have all kinds of issues arising from this irresponsibility of a government refusing to enforce our laws, and a president who's taken it even further than that and has said, okay, we won't send any of the children back. They basically have amnesty. And establishing that as a presidential position, executive order. And so what happens? Thousands, tens of thousands of children coming across because they'll be allowed to stay. And so what do? He asks for more money to pay for the lawyers of the children. That's what we're going to do. We're going to give them lawyers to make certain their rights are established. Meanwhile, who's paying for all of this? We're not worried about the fact that many of them have illnesses and diseases. Communities are terrified of having these individuals entered into their communities for no reason of ill will, but because they're worried about their families and their children going to school with someone who might have TB, a disease that we don't have any concern about here in this country now, but we may well soon have that concern. And so what does the president do? 60,000 this year. We're expecting 150 next year. You would think this would be a full court press to stop the 150 and to solve the problem so no one else comes, and then let's see what the best way to handle the 60 is. We might have differing views, but at least we address it as a national government, because all of America considers this the number one issue. We might want to have a president of the United States that looks at it and comes up with a plan and meets with the leaders of Congress and says, and the law enforcement officers of the country, and says, what can we do? We can't have this. I may have made a mistake here. Maybe we can turn this around somehow. No, he basically says, the word's out, that he's going to give them all amnesty, and he goes about to return onto one more vacation. It is a president that doesn't care. He doesn't care. He has his own agenda, and the rest doesn't matter to him. And so we are faced a truly, truly frightening national tragedy on the border today. And you have Rick Perry, a man that's shown real courage, who's decided to put the National Guard on the border. That is a first step. That is a man that I respect, who takes that position and says, state of Texas, that's what I'm responsible for, the people here in Texas. Nobody in the national scene will take care of this border. Let me see what I can do to make certain I protect the people for whom I'm in charge. That is a leader. That is a leader. That is extremely strong and courageous decision on his part. Before we can consider him as a candidate for 2016, he's got to work on his debate skills. But other than that, the man has quite a bit to offer. So where are we today when you look at all that's happening? And I know you've heard from many other speakers about what's out there. So let me just talk about things that I'm concerned about that I think are playing a role in why we are faced with this disaster we are today. And that is a hesitancy on the part of too many over the last 20 years, this political correctness, maybe it's even 25 years now, this idea that we should be hesitant and cautious about the words we use and the positions we take, because we could offend. We could offend people. Well, I don't know why you'd be offended by some of the things I say. I don't really give a hoot whether you're offended or not, quite honestly, because I've looked at these issues and I've considered them seriously, and I feel I have a very strong argument that these positions in which I take are in the best interest of this nation, and no one is going to make me hesitate or be cautious. Too many of our good, strong conservatives have backed away from issues that were too controversial because we want to build this kind of a unified front and reach to more and more Americans. And if we come out too strong on some of these issues, we'll offend people. What kind of leadership is this? We're not talking in policy. Sure, when you get into Congress, you're hammering out a bill. You might have to give a little. You might have to take hope for more, fight for more. You might not get everything you want. But when you're making a national case to the nation, on the national forum about what you think is right, where you think the country should go, what you believe, what your principles are, there's no place for hesitancy. There's only a place for boldness, to be clear and absolute about what you believe. That's being an American, and that's what I want to talk about today. When you've heard so much, and this is a story I tell often, you've heard so much about leaders in our state capitals, the leaders in our national capital. They're right here in Washington, our leaders. You know, the press writes about them, you know. I think they use the term way too broadly because most of the people in this town are not leaders. I'm pleased to tell you that I see the number climbing, in my personal opinion. But when you think about things such as a simple concept of party line vote, you know, that's when word comes down, this is Republicans vote Republican, Democrats vote over here no, because they're Democrats, yes for Republicans. Your leadership calls your office and says, party line, it's a party line, it's a party line. Yes, yes, this is what you have to vote, yes, it's a party line. So what happens is a piece of legislation comes down, you're a congressman, and word is, vote yes, party line. Well, what kind of leader is that? That's cheap. You're getting the word from the top, how to vote. You might want to say, excuse me, would it be all right if I read the bill? Maybe I could study the bill, see if it applies, see if it's in what I believe would be good legislation, which would be solid, which would reflect the principles I believe in and ran on, and those things I spoke to my constituents about. And maybe I should make this decision because I'm a leader and I'm here as a representative of the people of my district or state. No, party Boehner or the president, if you're a Democrat, have put the word out. This is the way you vote. So you do it? That's not a leader. And that's why we're in the trouble we are. Do you know when a few Republicans decide, no, not going to go that route, they get chastised. They're threatened with possibly losing their fancy offices and maybe fundraising, and we might get somebody to primary you. I mean, this is big time. There's a lot of threats. This is enormous pressure